Started off in Oakland, the Bay Area. Never had any journalism training. Never thought about going into broadcast journalism. Never wanted to be a correspondent. The only writing I ever did was raps that I wrote with Sway and King Tech when we were Flynamic Force, and then we would just Sway and Tech and put out independent records. So when the radio opportunity first came about, we just kind of figured it out. It was trial and error. But I think what I learned in that process on the radio, so we went into radio so we could find a platform to like expose the artists we were working with on our All City production. We had a company, small company out of my mother's house, out of my bedroom that we called All City Productions, and we were like, oh, okay, we could put out some of these rappers that we knew. A group called The Bums, Evo and DY's, artist called Mr. Me, who was actually from the Bronx, an artist named Motion Man, who was from the Bay. We had a bunch of artists we wanted to put out, so we thought getting on the radio would help us. And my training came from doing the Wake Up Show, being on the radio and getting kicked off the radio for obscene language and learning about, how to do a proper break. All of that stuff came from being on the radio and being in hip hop, just performing. And all of it was, in our minds, ways of giving All City records and productions exposure and having people hear our artists, our music, and their music as well. We had Russell Simmons' Dream. So when we first got on the air the first night, man, we were cursing, screaming. First record we've ever played was Live at the Barbecue with Nas and Akinelli and everybody, and Large Professor, and that just kind of set the tone. But we were just excited, like we were kids who were excited. We were young, and we were just rough around the edges. And I was from Oakland, and man, it was just exciting. It was an exciting time. A lot of what happened with us at KMEL at the time was extremely revolutionary for radio. I just talked to Funkmaster Flex. We just did an interview, and he brought up a really valid point that we very seldom talk about. But if there wasn't, KMEL gave birth to Hot 97. What we did on KMEL is because the Wake Up Show got popular and the mix shows got popular, convinced our program director Keith Nafley that you can play certain records, whether it's NWA or Public Enemy or Tribe Called Quest or KRS-One, or Poor Righteous Teachers or X-Clan back then. If you could program those records a certain way and hear them in any day part, from morning drive, which you never heard rap music, afternoon drive, middays, and you barely heard it at nighttime radio. And in the mix, they only played mostly pop and dance music. You only heard rap close to midnight, and when we did that station was breaking artists like Mariah Carey, Paula Abdul. At the same time, you hear De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, the Fugees, Public Enemy, KRS-One, and we've showed them how you can combine the two and not lose your audience. In fact, your audience grows, your brand grows. The move to MTV was really interesting. The company, I want to say Radio 1 came in and bought The Beat, 92.3 The Beat, which was the station we were on at the time. Long story short, the man told me, if you cannot play music that I know at any given minute that I turn on radio, then I'm not sure if your show belongs on this station anymore. And I told him, you know what? I'm going to do you a solid, and I'll take it one step further. I am sure that the show doesn't belong on your station. And we're gonna, we quit, basically. Ironically, MTV prior to that had asked if I would audition for them for some show that they were doing at the time. I can't think of the name of the show, but it eventually became Direct Effect. And KRS-One was at my house that day and gave me the best. If I say this all the time, KRS-One, I was like, man, I don't want to go do that. I don't want to work for MTV. That's all about boy bands. They don't have Yo MTV Raps no more. That's real mainstream, man. There's a lot of these hip-hop dudes who, followed us, that would follow us to the rivers, and jump off a cliff if we said that's hip-hop. I don't want to let people down. And he was like, man, look, By the time you're 18, if you're not a part of a movement or movement or organization that's against the establishment, you have no heart. You all right? You have no courage. But by the time you're 25, if you're not a part of that same establishment, you have no brain. And I was like, oh snap. So you saying I need to be on the inside working out? He said, yeah. If you want to make change, it ain't gonna happen being at this house in LA.